Yeah, I totally agree. And the other point I want to make too is that, like, Elon Musk, for example, has what is worth 260 billion now?
Something like
something crazy like that.
He doesn't
right?
need all that money.
No, but this is this is the point I want to make is what he's done with that money is he's been able to create businesses that give back so much to society and so much more than like you or I can give with our current income, right?
Yeah.
Like, who are you to judge A, what he does with his money, but B, if you really want to start judging and breaking it down, he's created the largest electrical car company in the world, right? He's created SpaceX, which has revolutionized the space industry, and he's going into other industries as well and trying to just bring these awesome businesses and opportunity and give people these products that are incredibly engineered. And as much as I don't want, an electric car personally at this point in my life, you have to appreciate how much he has done for the general populace and society with these incredible businesses that he's built.
Yeah,
you have to. It's just, and who are you to say that he should be taxed at like 50% or something crazy like that?
Yeah.
Because, you see that as a better fit. Who are you to fucking judge? This is the American dream. We live in an incredible country where we have the freedom to pursue what we want in our dreams. And we live in an incredible state where that is made easier than a lot of other states.
Yeah.
And who are you to say that? I love this country. I'm getting on a fucking rant today. I fucking love this country. I love the freedom we have here, and I want to preserve that and keep that. And don't fucking take that away from me. It is incredible to live here, and you should be thankful for that.
Amazon.
That's what I have to say.
Amazon has made it able so that you can get any product you want in 24 hours.
How fucking crazy is that? How much has he revolutionized the way we are able to acquire products and acquire merchandise? I can't tell you how many fucking times I forgot something last minute, ordered it on Amazon, it came in the next day and saved my fucking ass.
Yeah.
Like,
and you want to tax that guy 50% of his revenue?
That is an incredible product and system that he has developed. And he should be rewarded generously because he is one in a billion people that can make that happen.
Yeah.
And he should be rewarded for that.
Less than that. There are like 7 or 8 billion people in the world, I think.
He's like one of 7.
1 of 7 billion. And if you count everybody who's lived before him, he's one of several hundred billion. But no one else has done it. And I think that as an American, you have the right to become a billionaire, cash out all of your money into paper money, and then light it on fire. I think that if you wanted, you don't even have to make a company that revolutionizes the world. You don't have to progress at all. You can make, Andrew Tate's a great example, right?
Yeah.
I think that Andrew Tate sends a terrible message to young, impressionable teens. There's a good part of his message, which is self-empowerment, and then there's a bad part of his message, which is tearing down other people. You can say that he's becoming a billionaire off of tearing down other people, and that's not constructive to society. But if he wants to blow all his money if he wants to light it on fire or dump it in the harbor, he should be able to because he has earned that money. Yeah. You don't get to touch my money. That's how this country works.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think that largely people who want to take away others people's money are jealous of the fact that they have that money and feel victimized by the fact that they just didn't work hard enough to achieve it.
Yeah.
And until you recognize the fact that they just worked harder than you did and that's why they have it and you don't, you will never be okay with the dynamic that they can make a ton of money and you don't have to.
Yeah.
But, that dynamic will never sit well with you until you recognize the fact that they just worked harder than you.
I think a shocking amount of people assume that wealthy people were born into it and didn't have to work for it.
What is it? Like something like 80% of multimillionaires today weren't born into a family that was,
I have no idea, but I wouldn't be shocked.
It's some crazy statistic like that. Don't quote me on it, but it is a large percentage of multimillionaires today were not born into that kind of wealth.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah. But it's easier as someone who doesn't have that and is not willing to work towards that to just discount it and then rationalize it as, well, they were handed it to them.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's easier to complain than do something about your situation to change it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And what do we say to those people?
Well, I don't know. Work harder.
No.
Do better.
No. You say, you're right.
Yeah, you say you're right.
Yeah.
That's right. Alex Hormozy.
Top comment, number one, hit the nail on the head.
Yes.
Was that in your second, or are we doing your thing?
That was my first question.
Let's do your second.
Yeah. This is actually this is a nice segue because this is related to financial planning, and also I should have jotted in on your savings stuff to ask this too. But what methods for budgeting or financial planning have you implemented, and what value did you get from the meeting with your financial advisor? And the reason I'm asking this is I think you could shed some good light on the value or lack thereof, potentially, of meeting with a financial advisor, and then maybe sharing some wisdom about how whoever's watching may be able to budget their financial situation or kind of be able to save with a meaning in mind.
Yeah, I can do that. So for preface, for background here, when we graduated college and started our full-time jobs, I was automatically enrolled into the Northrop Grumman 401k savings plan. And automatic withdrawal, I was not exempt from withholding, meaning that Northrop Grumman, if I earn $2,000 a paycheck, Northrop Grumman takes out my tax first and then hands the rest to me. And then they give my tax to the government. So I never see that money. That's how tax system works for as a W-2 employee in the United States with a corporation. Northrop Grumman actually takes more than they need to give to the government just to make sure, that they're paying enough. Then in April, when I file my taxes, I tell the government, hey, Northrop Grumman should have withheld X amount of money and given it to you. And then the government goes, that's right. They actually took an extra 20%. So we're going to give that back to you. And now you get a tax refund. And everybody's excited about their tax refund because it means that it's like a bonus. But in actuality, if you're getting a tax refund, it means that you've done your taxes wrong. Well, my mom is an ex-IRS agent, and she taught Sander and I, Internal Revenue Service, IRS. She taught Sander and I how taxes work and how 401k plans work when we were just graduating college. And I was struggling to understand why 401k plans, why retirement plans exist. Because essentially what you're doing is taking a percentage of your paycheck every week or every 2 weeks and putting it in an account that you're not allowed to touch until you're 55. Then when you have enough in there, you can stop working, retire, and then pay yourself a stream of income until you die. That essentially means that you are saving up money to pay yourself and then quitting when you think you have enough money to make it until you die. That doesn't make much sense to me at all. Additionally, if I want to take that money out of the account before I'm 55, I have to pay heavy fees on it. And what I found from Northrop is you're not allowed to take it out at all unless you have hardship. Like if I have no money.
Case for me too.
If I have no money or I'm trying to buy a house, and even then I have to pay that back. That didn't make sense to me because that's my money. I should be allowed to do what I want with it, right? I found out that from Northrop, you have to quit or be fired to actually get access to that money.
Yep.
And none of that stank. That did not seem right to me because that's my money. Why can't I do what I want with it? So I decided in, I think, August of last year, so probably a year ago, to have recurring meetings with the financial advisor. I did his basic informational plan in which my financial advisor walked me through what a retirement savings plan should look like for me and how I should handle my finances to retire at a reasonable age. I think the age was 62. And I paid...
I think you can pull part of it out at 59 and a half and then the remainder at 60.
That's correct, yeah. And I paid $800 for what should have been 6 sessions, but wound up being 8 because I asked a lot of questions. And he gave me a basic plan. And essentially, the brass tacks was he had the same opinion that my mom had, which is you need to put this money aside to pay yourself when you retire because you have to stop working at some point. And I hit him with the counter in every meeting of, well, what if I had an autonomous stream of income that pays me every week instead of me having to work for it? And he was like, that's what investments are. Like you can invest in the S&P 500 and that money will grow and then you can pay yourself back. And I said, no, like cash flow. Like what if I have people buying a product from me every week and giving me their money? Because then I can retire as early as that happens. And if that happens in my 40s, then I can retire 2 decades early. And he was like, well, yeah, but you need to have a safety net and you need to have this in your back pocket and it's good to have, etc. And I just didn't understand it. And so ultimately, I walked away from all of those financial advisor meetings. I went in having an inclination, but looking for an understanding. I want to know how lay people think about retirement.
Yeah.
How do they approach it? And he is a financial guy. He understands how it works. He understands that when I put money into my 401k account at Northrop Grumman, that money Northrop takes, spends however it wants, probably paying out the 401ks of the people retiring right now, and then banks on the fact that when I retire, they'll have money from their fresh chickens to give me my 401k. And the reason you're not allowed to touch it until you're 55 or 60, and you pay such heavy penalties on it if you want to take it out early, is because they don't have that money. They are spending that money when you give it to them, as soon as you give it to them. And that makes me really uncomfortable because I don't want people spending my money. I want to have access to my money. So that was my takeaway from the financial advisor. I'm glad that I did it, even though it was a lot of money for me. And ultimately, I came out just with confirmation of what I thought before. But I spent that money, and I can share that information with you and with our audience and with our future selves. So I'm glad that I spent it. But ultimately, I just disagree so fundamentally with the 401k savings system. Any retirement system doesn't make sense to me. I don't want to pay myself to not work.
Because you essentially bank on your super diversified investments going up that over time, which by statistics will, statistically speaking, will go up potentially just above inflation rate.
Yep.
Right. And then if you have a Roth, you pay taxes on it now, and then you don't pay income tax when you pull it out, but you still pay capital gains tax.
Yep.
But then if you have a traditional 401k, you don't pay tax now, but then you will pay income tax on it when you pull it out on top of capital gains tax when you pull it out. You're also banking on the fact that when you pull it out, the country and the world is going to be in a good financial state that aren't going to be taxed out of the ass on those capital gains, because that's a fluctuating bracket that can change over time.
Yeah.
You're also banking, if you have a traditional 401k, that your income tax bracket from pulling that money out isn't going to be crazy, because that could change over time too. It changes every fucking year.
Yep.
Right? There are so many variables that you have no control over. And alternatively, you could keep that money and build something that brings you money passively that could let you retire when you want, which is completely in your control.
Right.
So why would you bank on the government and the world being in an okay state 40 years from now for you to be able to retire, rather than banking on yourself and your own abilities to build something that's meaningful and will bring you income?
Yep.
It personally doesn't make sense to me. That is my personal take.
The state of the country when you're ready to retire is an especially important.
Yeah. Talk about the World War II thing.
Yep. The highest tax rate right now is 36%. I believe for like billionaires and millionaires, it's higher supposedly, but in the standard tax bracket, I believe the highest is 36%. The highest it's ever been in the United States was in the middle of the Vietnam War, when it was at 76%. Meaning that 76% of your income would be going to the government.
Well, also, I think maybe you're getting to this point and I'm interrupting you, but I think the capital gains tax on pulling out of a 401k was over 90% during World War II.
I don't remember, but I would not be surprised.
I'm pretty sure that just the capital gains bracket during that time period was over 90%.
Why would that be? Why would they not want you to pull your money out?
Because they need it for the war.
Exactly. And if that's not
why would they want you to pull their money out?
Exactly. Your money out.
Right.
Exactly. That's the thing, is it's not your money anymore. It's their money, and you're banking on them paying you back when you're retiring. And that's as bad as Social Security, in my opinion, because Social Security is just a government retirement plan, essentially. And we can't get out of paying it. I can get out of my 401k. I have stopped contributing to my 401k. Interestingly, also, let me finalize this point real quick. You're banking on the country being in a good financial state when you retire. My dad is working with people right now who planned to retire 4 years ago. But with COVID hitting and inflation jumping up, Bidenflation and COVIDflation, right? Their S&P 500 investment accounts that their 401ks are based in are down 25%.
Yeah.
They can't retire right now, because as soon as they retire, that money stops making money because you have to start pulling it out. Yeah. So they have been waiting. They're still working 5 years overdue. They're still working, waiting for it to come back up just to net zero, let alone be even more profit to quit. And like the idea that I can be 65 years old and still working because I have to is appalling to me. Another thing I'll note, because many people will say, oh, if you have a 401k with your company and they match, then it's free money. No, it's not. There's no such thing as free fucking money. You should have taken basic economics class in high school. The fucking education system is so awful with financial education, but the very least they tell you is there's no such thing as a free fucking lunch. And that's because when your company says that they match vested, right? Once you're fully vested in your 401k, because you have to pay to your 401k for like Northrop, I think is 3 years. Once you hit the 3-year mark, if you contribute 6% of your income to your 401k, they will contribute the same amount of money back to your account. One might say that's free money. It's your company gifting it back to you, but it's not. When they hire an employee, they're given a billet. And that billet, for example, I make $80,000 a year as an engineer at Northrop Grumman. My pay is actually, as Northrop sees it, let's just say 88,000, right? Because they're anticipating that I'm going to be contributing 10% to my 401k. They're already ready to give me an extra 10%, right? So as I, right now, sitting here, I'm not contributing to my 401k. They're putting 10% into their pocket every month because I'm not contributing. Yeah. So they're actually profiting off me because they plan that into your position before you're hired. And the reason that it takes 3 years to fully vest isn't because they want you to show loyalty to your company. It's because the average turnover rate of an American is 2 years and 8 months, meaning that they cannot contribute fully to your 401k and they can pocket that extra 10% that they had in your job billet while you become vested and bank on the fact that you leave to a different company before you're fully vested and they don't have to pay you out and they can collect that money. Meaning that even if you don't quit, even if you stay, they're guaranteed to profit off of you as an employee no matter how long you're there for. And I don't trust that as far as I can throw it.
Yep. And on top of that point too, the reason that SpaceX salaries are higher is because they don't have the same 401k plans as other companies have. That's why the base pay. I don't think that they have a match program for 401k.
Got it.
They just, if you want to set up your independent 401k or Roth, go for it. But we don't do this match thing, and that's why part of the reason why their pay is higher. Also, they work their employees a lot harder, and there's a bunch of other factors. But it's so true. So true.
Yeah. When this whole spiel, it took me like 3 months to actually learn. This whole spiel that we just did, I could not have done a year ago. I really needed to sit down with the financial advisor and understand how money works to understand how this plays into effect. And I think the concept that really drove it home for me was trying to figure out what's better, standard or Roth. Because Roth, you pay taxes now, and with standard, you pay taxes later. And generally speaking, paying taxes later is better, right? But if in your retirement, you're paying yourself more money than you're getting paid right now, then it makes more money to pay the taxes now because it would be less, right? Because you're making less money. But the tax bracket for elderly people is actually a little bit different than younger people. Sure. Additionally, maybe you're making more money from your retirement than you are right now. Who knows? Maybe you're making less. And then I sat back and I considered, well, the amount of money I take out of my 401k when I retire is dependent entirely on how much money I am putting into it right now. And that means if when I retire, I'm actually taking a pay cut, that means I'm committing to like having less money throughout my life and then committing to having even less money than that in the final years of my life, in my golden years, when I'm going to want to give back to my community and my family. And that was unacceptable to me. And I made a decision in that moment, which is I'm not going to contribute to my 401k. I have no safety net. And I need to find a way to make more money and make it passively so that I can do it into my old age. Because at a certain point, I want to rest on my laurels and hang up my hat and give back to everybody instead of, working at some point, right? I know Charlie Munger worked until he died, and Warren Buffett's likely going to do the same. And maybe I'm on that same path too. I don't know. Maybe I'll love my work that much. But at a certain point, I'll assume when I'm 70 years old, I'm going to want to stop and just teach people instead of doing it anymore. And at that point, I need to continue to make money. I can't pay myself from my savings. I want to be continually making money. And that's how I came to that conclusion from my financial advisor. Tips for saving money. I've gone through all of the Excel sheets and Quicken, and I've made budgets, and I've done everything. And I just spent a bunch of money on this Miami trip. And I am here to say that the best saving technique that I've used is to wrap my debit card in a strip of duct tape, so that every single time I have to buy something, I've got to deal with pulling this fucking duct tape off so that I can get the chip to read. And in the time it takes me to unwrap it, I'm like, do I fucking want this? Or when I'm thinking about buying it, I'm like, I don't want to fucking deal with that duct tape. And that is to date the best saving method I think I found.
Yeah, I was hoping that that's what you were going to bring up because that's what I wanted to bring.
That's the best one. Yeah. I did not wrap my credit card in duct tape for this last trip, but maybe I should have. But I'm happy that I didn't buy the AR in the last week because I realized that's not something that I need right now.
Yeah.
I think that I didn't need, but I really wanted a short vacation. I haven't taken a full vacation in a long time. The closest one since 2016, I think, was going to the Rebs Institute with you last year. But even then, we were going around to different places collecting information for our business. So it was still kind of business related. It wasn't 100% vacation. So I wanted that, and I was willing to spend the money on it.
I think the last vacation we took was the 24-hour at Daytona.
Yeah.
But that wasn't even really a vacation. That was like 2 days of racing. And even then we talked about business stuff.
At the end of it,
I mean, it's,
goes everywhere with us.
It goes everywhere with us.
Even in Miami, I met Grace's sister and her fiance there, and I learned about their business. But my point being, that was money that I was willing to spend, so I freely gave that up. But generally speaking, when I'm considering buying fast food or a Celsius or whatever, or what groceries are cheaper, the best method is just make it hard for you to get your card out.
Yeah.
That's the best way. It's the best way.
I hear that.
What about you? What have you found? Because you're saving money more right now, right?
Yeah, I'm saving money really well. What has worked really well for me is having a really strict turning my budget into a game for myself. And this is actually a point that you gave me that I've utilized. But it's like, I used to think, can I buy this? Can I make it work? Right? And now I think, how much money can I save by not getting this stuff? At least for a large majority of the stuff that I buy, that's how I think about it. The Porsche stuff is an exception for me. A little bit of a passion project and something that's been on the back burner that I want to start to work on because I'm passionate about it. But outside of that, everything else in my life, between figuring out how to save on my electrical bill, figuring out how to save on my water bill, figuring out how to fix stuff on the BMW, like the ABS module that I would normally send out, but I'm trying to Google videos on how I can rebuild it myself to save a few $100, figuring out how to get used parts off of eBay that might be just as good as a new one instead of going to the dealer and just blowing a bunch of money.
Right.
Sticking to just my loyalties at Palhana, unless it's like an exception. Like today they had 50% off. So I got, a double Lolo for half off because I wanted one and it was a good deal. But other than that, like I check my account balance every day. And I've started to update Quicken now. I've been checking my account balance regularly, but I've started the Quicken thing again more recently because I went through a bunch of laptops. So it was bullshit. I bought a bunch of new ones and I went through a bunch and they all had issues. So it was a bunch of returns and shit like that.
Can I pause you real quick?
Yeah.
So two things. The first thing is I think that planned expenses generally lose you less money than unplanned expenses.
Yeah.
Great example. I had been waiting to buy a desk. It's a $400 desk. I had been waiting for like 4 months to buy it. But in that time, my Kratom bill was going up and up and up because of the work that we do with the bars. And ultimately, when I had the money saved up to buy this desk, I spent it $400. It's a big purchase, right? In the last month with the desk, my Kratom bill has gone down by $100. So it'll pay itself off in 4 months.
Yeah.
That's a plan. Also, I'm wondering, how do you check your money each day?
I look at the Chase app. I look at the bank account app.
Perfect.
I check my credit card and my debit card or bank account.
Perfect. Alex Ramosi has this great quote, which is, if you're unhappy with the amount of money that you have, when you wake up in the morning, don't watch TikTok or scroll through Instagram reels. Open your banking app and look at that number. Yeah. So the Quicken app, when you open the Quicken app, it shows you your net worth. It shows every banking account and then the total at the bottom. That's the first thing I check every morning after I set my alarm.
Now I update Quicken every day. Yeah. But before that point, I was just checking my bank account, and it helps me. Like before I go to the vending machine or before I go to the store and get a snack, I'll look at my bank account and be like, do I really fucking need this snack right now?
Yeah.
Or am I just bored out of my mind and I want to go do something?
Yeah.
Right. And half the time it's like I'm bored out of my mind and I just want to get up out of my desk and go like get this little snack so I can preoccupy my mind with chewing on something.
Right.
Right. And so that has really helped me a lot. And sticking to like strict loyalties at the bars instead of binging out on drink has really helped me.
I'm on that train now.
Yeah. That's stuff that's really helped me. And I had to progress to it. Like I went from multiple teas a day at the bar to a tea and a refresher to just refresher to maybe a lemonade. And now I'm on just loyalty.
Right.
And also what has helped me is if I anticipate that I'm going to be out for a while and I'm going to get hungry, bring a snack in the car, bring tea in the car. stuff like that I can go out there and refill a water bottle or something like that, or go out, step outside and take a break to eat something, to kind of break up, break myself away from the temptation to spend money in the convenience of the bar, to, kind of bring my home stuff with me in case I need it. So that has helped me a lot.
There is no better way to fucking put an electric volt through your back and wake you up in the morning than looking at your bank account, realizing that you're broke as shit and you need to get up and get to fucking work. That's better than a cold shower. That wakes you up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the same thing. This past month, I was really bad about groceries, which means that I didn't spend much on groceries, but I spent more money on fast food. And the net was $150 larger bill than normal because I was spending more on fast food. I also was eating fast food, so I don't feel as good.
Yeah.
I lost weight, but I didn't feel good. So Grace and I are making a conceited effort to try and do better with groceries this month. And I'm trying to find something that doesn't require a microwave to eat, that I can just keep on me at all times. And I just had this thought while you were talking. I think if I keep beef jerky and trail mix with me at all times, then I can still not be over on calories and also not spend money on fast food. Yeah. So in addition to bringing the dinners that I have, I'm trying to work out a solution where I just have food on me, because that's my biggest expense right now, is food. That's my big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think great tips from both of us. Hopefully someone in the audience can be helped out by that.
Yeah.
I have another question. Do you have a quote?
I got a bunch of stuff. I fucking hate people. I talked about it earlier. And in the last episode, I talked about becoming hard to kill. And as a part of that, you need to be willing to kill. And I don't mean like fucking murder, right? I just mean like you need to be able to make hard decisions. And the balance between, as Jordan Peterson says, become a monster and then control it. Striking a balance there is challenging. Knowing when to refrain and when to not. Eminem is releasing an album right now where he diverts back to his Slim Shady, like super controversial character, and then is arguing with this modern day, like, just relax, he's a more mature character. Yeah. But I love the Slim Shady character because he's violent and obscene and crazy. And I have been kind of thinking about, like, who is the kind of person that I want to be? Because I think ultimately a true man should be someone who's capable of violence but refrains. But he's capable of it and will do it when it's needed. And in lieu of that, I found this Hormozy quote that I really love and have been unintentionally incorporating in my life over the past few years. This is similar to our political debate. It's maturing is realizing that you can hate an idea without hating the human being who believes it. And I don't think enough people really follow that, because a lot of people, especially when you're politically charged, you hate somebody because of what they believe, not because of who they are. And I think that a really great example of this is I had dated my ex-girlfriend for like 5 years, and we were very happy together. And then she learned what my political views were and then started hating me. And I was like, I'm the same person. Like, nothing has changed about me. You just put a label on me. And I think that similarly in business and in any ideas, I think that if you have an idea and someone else shoots it down, don't get upset with them for shooting it down. Or if you don't like something that someone else has to say, don't hate them for thinking differently. You can hate the idea, but don't hate the person.
Yep.
And that's a really useful quote that I found that I think that I want tattooed on my forehead, so that people speaking to me don't think that I hate them, but that I hate their ideas.
Right. Yes. A connection to that too, sort of in a way, is it's really hard to hate someone who works as hard as they can. And this is related but unrelated. But I heard that quote the other day, and it really rang true to me, because you could hate someone's ideas or think that you dislike them because of something they said or whatever, but if they are really giving it their all and working as hard as they possibly can and pursuing their dreams, it's really hard to hate them.
That's another Hormozy quote.
Yeah. So my last question is, what techniques do you use to motivate yourself when you don't feel like working? And this is sort of similar to my first question, which was regarding how do you push yourself through challenges and stuff like that. But maybe like 2 or 3 bullet points of quick techniques or things that you do to motivate yourself to get in the groove of working. I can go first if you want to think too.
I have one off the top of my head.
Sure.
And it's the same technique that I use when I don't want to go to the gym. And it's the hardest part about working out is just getting into the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, at least from rowing, I associate my workout shoes with I am going to work out. It's an inevitable. It's going to happen now. So I did it this morning because I slept in. I didn't go to work. And I was like, cool, I'll go to the gym today and I'll go podcast with Sander. And as I started to get to work and do my gun records, we'd set the time for the podcast. And I thought, man, like, you know, it's several hours from now. I could probably go to the gym, but I could also probably just work and then end up not going to the gym. And I was still in my like comfy clothes. And I was like, I'm going to put my gym shoes on right now. So I did. And I worked at home for a little while in like my sweats, like my comfy clothes with my gym shoes on. Because that motivated me and that reminded me like, okay, we're going to the gym. It's going to happen at some point. And after an hour of working, I put on the rest of my gym clothes and I got up and I went. And I think that for working, I have to be in the right mood to work at my desk at home, because if I'm tired, then I don't want to work at the desk as much and it's easier for me to get distracted with other shit. But if I can recognize that, then I'll put my shoes on, and then that tells me, because I'm a barefoot type of person. It's happening right now. When I'm at home, I'm barefoot. But if I put my shoes on, that means I'm going to go get to work. So I'll put my shoes on, and then I'll go to one of the bars and work.
Cool. So maybe like an overarching technique could be
put your shoes on.
Well, doing little things to get you in the physical setting to be able to accomplish the things that you need to do.
Yeah. When you work most efficiently, what are you doing? What do you have around you? And then if you're ever not in the mood to work, we do the same thing when we get depressed, right? Because when you're happy, make a note. Then you have your happy list. So when you're depressed, even if you're sad, look at the list and then just do one of the things on the list. And you're not going to feel like doing it, but as you do it, you'll feel happy. And you'll know that you'll feel happy because you wrote it down when you were happy and now you're not depressed anymore. It's the easiest fix to depression.
Yeah. Agreed.
What's your method? What's your technique?
I talked about this in one of my direct-to-camera shorts a while back, but I'll repeat to myself to do it now, get it done, get up, do it. And as I start repeating that, it gets myself in a state of like tension or urgency.
Yeah.
And it helps me to get going on it and making it happen. And then after usually about 5-10 minutes of going through it, I'll get in a groove and I'll want to do it, right? Another thing that I do too is if I like get up in the morning and, you know, I have to do a couple things around the house and then get through my day, if I don't feel like doing it, I'll be like, hey, you either can do this now and get it done, or you're going to have to do it later. Doesn't matter when you do it, but you're going to have to do it. So you might as well do it now, because you're not going to want to do it later. Yep. You don't want to do it now. So it doesn't fucking matter. Just make it happen.
Right.
So that's something else that I told myself that helps me get into a groove.
Yeah.
But you know, that's what I got, or at least that what comes to mind for me.
I think that this is going to sound more vain than it means to be. I don't mean it to sound like that. I have a difficult time succumbing to pressure, even when it's pressure from myself. So when I try and place myself under stress or tension, it's really easy for me to just not respond to that and turn it off, which is great because when I'm placed in high stress environments, I handle it. Yeah. But it's not great because I can't force myself to do things because I don't want anybody to force me to do anything, right? What is motivating to me, there are two things. The first is other people that I care about, like my teammates. So for rowing, if I had to wake up to do my own workout, I'll fucking wake up later. I'll do it later, right? But if I know that my boat is waiting on me, I'm going to be the first person there. Yeah. So if other people are depending on me, then I'll be there. So like my girlfriend needing me to succeed so that we can eat is important to me. You having the same goals and knowing that you're out there working as hard as I am for me is motivating to me. Knowing that my family is waiting on their 401ks and not making passive income every month puts pressure on me because I know that they're going to fall into ill health one day. And if they don't have the money to support them, someone has to, and I want that to be me. My brother is going on this really amazing experience right now in the military, and I know that that doesn't pay a whole lot. And I know that someday he'll have a day of reckoning where he wakes up and realizes that he doesn't have the money that he needs to live. And I want to be there to support those people.
Yeah.
But from a more pressurizing standpoint like that you use, there's one, it's a TikTok video that I found a while ago, but I wrote the quote down because I love it so much. And it goes like this. They say an alligator is so ferocious it could kill a lion. but I can kill an alligator with my bare hands. How? You kill it right after it eats. Because right after it eats, it gets satisfied. It goes into a state like it's almost paralyzed. Some of you in this room, are you paralyzed? Have you had a little success? Have you done what no one else in your family has done and now you're chilling? Come on, you ain't hungry no more? I need you to stay focused. Why? Because you should still be hungry. What have you eaten that's gotten you so satisfied? What have you done? What have you accomplished that's got you so full? It is never finished. You always have more to do. Another mission, another task, another goal. So don't be finished. Be starting. Be alert. Be ready. Be attacking. Be relentless.
Is that Goggins?
It's a mix. It's Goggins, Jocko Williams.
Oh, gotcha.
Or Willing, someone else.
Yeah, that's good. I've heard you read that one before.
But the finale, be relentless, really clicks for me because the Florida Tech rowing mantra is the relentless pursuit of greatness. That's the mantra, and I fucking love it. The Space Coast Crew one was one more, and which is also fantastic because it's similar to like I'll quit tomorrow. It's like I'm gonna do one more and then I'm done, and then you're not because you've always got one more. And the Florida Tech, the relentless pursuit of greatness is a fantastic motivator in sports and rowing, but just as easily applied in real life. And if I take today off, that's not relentless. That's not 100%, and I won't be great. And the idea that I will die one day not having been an owner of the Aston Martin penthouse suite is upsetting to me. I don't want to live that life. So those are the techniques that I have.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
You got any quotes to wrap us up?
Yeah, I've got a couple. My last quote was pretty violent on the maturing is realizing you can hate whatever. This one's a little more unifying. And I think that it is especially applicable in today's world because there are many people who feel that the cards are stacked against them and that they need these kinds of handouts and they need billionaires to pay their fair share in tax or pass their fair share in tax because they have it so difficult because they were dealt a bad hand. And Hormozy makes a really great point of saying, it doesn't matter what hand you're dealt, just fucking play it, right? Like, don't worry about if someone else is ahead of you or if they started ahead of you, because why do you care about them? Like, just care about you, fix yourself. And my parents are a really great story of this. They grew up with nothing in trailer parks as military brats, and they built themselves into an upper middle class family. Proud of them. This is a quote from John D. Rockefeller. It goes, "Our destiny is determined by our actions, not our origins," which essentially states, you can work your way out of any situation that you've started. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you finish. And what actions you take is what determines where you go.
And what is more powerful than that? You know what I mean? Like, what do people gain out of complaining about their situation and not having that mindset?
They don't get anything.
My perspective on this sort of thing is adopt a mindset and adopt a frame of thinking that benefits you. Why would you adopt things and believe things that don't benefit you? Right? What is the purpose of that? How does that help you?
Pick the reality.
How does that make your life better?
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, I hear that point.
Yeah,
for sure.
Pick the reality that serves you.
100%.
Because at the end of the day, everything's in your fucking head. Like, you make up everything around.
Yes.
Like, fucking, you live in a matrix. Nothing is real. So if that's the case, then just think what serves you best.
Yeah.
And then that's what's real.
It's what, 11 p.m. now, 10:30, right?
Yeah, it's
right?
like 11.
And you could easily say, oh, we're tired. We're not going to work anymore. We're not going to do anything for the rest of the evening, right? Or we could say, we're going to work at home and get this thing done and grind this hour. I'm going to do a little thing here, or I'm going to do meal prep or whatever, right? You can choose to be the person you want to become. There's nothing holding you back from that. So why would you have the belief that you're too tired to do anything else with the rest of your day?
Right.
Right. How does it help you?
Yeah.
My
belief, where I struggle, is not the belief that I'm too tired to work anymore and I should go to sleep. The problem with my belief right now is when I wake up in the morning, it's not worth my time to go into work. Yeah. And that's where I struggle right now.
Yeah.
And I think that it's because, like, Ralph and Anna, Grace's family, Ralph does some crazy fucking runs. When we were down there, he had just flown back from New York, and he met with us. He hung out with us. We were out till 11:30 at night. We went back to his parents' place, and he was like, "I got to load up the van." And I was like, "Oh, like, what are you going to, what's up?" And he was like, "Yeah, in the morning, I have to go back to the warehouse, and then I'm going to go sell at this like swap store thing. And I was like, oh, what time do you have to be dead? He's like, I wake up at 4:45. It is 11:30, sir. You have to wake up at 4:45, then go work. He was like, yeah, after that, I'll get lunch with you guys. We'll hang out. We'll go, whatever. And then I have to go back to the warehouse to do some logging of things and then probably be asleep around midnight. And then I have to be in Orlando. He lives in Miami. I have to be in Orlando at 6 a.m. the next day and then Jacksonville that evening. I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy. But the next morning when we hung out for brunch, I was like, how was your selling this morning? Because it's 10 a.m. at this point. And you were up at 4:45. And he was like, great. He told me how much money he made. And I was like, wow, that's what I'm missing. I'm missing the feeling of I'm getting up early and I'm working hard. And as a result, I get more money. Because right now, if I get up early or I get up late, I make the same amount of money. It doesn't matter. So what's motivating me to work? Nothing.
Yeah, 100%.
So I need a vessel to make more money because I will work harder if I get more money.
Yeah. Once I get that little nugget,
yeah,
I think it'll kick me into a different gear.
Dude,
not saying that I'm not in a high gear now, because I think that we do work incredibly hard now, but I think it will kick it into a different gear that I haven't seen yet.
I think we're so far from our actual potential.
Oh, 100%.
And like for as hard as we work now, and we do work hard, I think that there is so much more ahead of us. It's going to be so much more difficult, and we have so much more left in the tank that we have no idea about.
100%.
I have a couple things to end on.
Sure.
That's a powerful way to end the podcast, but I got a couple fun things. Do you want to hear a fun racing thing?
Sure.
I've got 3 points to end on. These are all my backup, but I'm enjoying my time, so I'm going to do all of them.
Cool.
Do you know about the Champions Drive in the 1980s with the Formula One World Champions?
Maybe.
I just saw this. It's a Drive 61 YouTube video, and I know you don't like that guy, so I'm going to tell you about it.
He's okay. I just find his voice annoying. It's the most petty shit ever that I could pick on, but...
Say life for me.
Life.
It doesn't sound like wife. What are you talking about?
Maybe only in the recording it sounds like wife. Yeah. I don't know.
I think you're crazy.
My life.
What's the other one? Wheelie?
Willie. And
you don't
really,
say that. You don't say that.
There was another one I thought. I don't know. Yeah, a couple of my words sound a little bit weird on the audio recordings. But
someone had an idea. 1984. They were like, man, everyone has all this debate about who's the greatest world champion in Formula One. Let's get as many world champions as we can and get them in the same stock car and have them race. So they built all stock Mercedes something sedans and had them all prepared to do this race. And they wanted every world champion that they could, but they couldn't get everybody. So they got Fangio. They got James Hunt. They got Alan Prost. They got... a couple more world champions, right? They also had race winners who weren't world champions, and they had 19 total, and they needed a 20th. And I forget who it was. Maybe it was Prost. Somebody recommended Ayrton Senna, who had just done his first 3 races in Formula One, and he only finished 2 of them. He said, you should have him do this race with us. And they were like, he's a nobody. He's not a race winner. He's not anybody. And they were like, he's a good driver. Come on. And they were like, okay. So they have Formula One world champions, they have regular racing drivers, they have Formula One race winners, and then Ayrton Senna, who is a Formula One driver and hasn't won a race yet. They all get in these stock 4-door sedan Mercedes, and they're going to do a race. So they do qualifying. Ayrton qualifies 3rd, and Prost is down in I think 16th or something like that. But he didn't do the practice running, so he was at a disadvantage. But it was like Senna behind 2 world champions. I can't remember the names. And Scott Mansell from the Drive 61 YouTube channel said that the first 2 laps weren't televised, but by the time it turned on to lap 3, Senna was already in the lead.
Wow.
And he went on to win the race by an enormous margin over all of these other drivers. And everyone was shocked because apparently in the first 2 laps, apparently Ayrton Senna did a really aggressive overtake on... wasn't it Prost? It was Prost. Lauda was the one who qualified low, but Prost started just ahead of Senna. And apparently Senna did a really aggressive overtake on him. And some people are, speculating that that's where the start of the rivalry came from, because in this first race in even cars, Senna beat everybody by a lot. But he said it was interesting because these are stock cars, not race cars. So the driver inputs are visible from the outside because the suspension is so soft that you can see the body roll of the car really easily from the outside. So you can see just how much more smooth Senna is with all his inputs than everyone else. And it was a really interesting story. that I didn't know if you.
Very cool. No, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's my first closer. My second closer is, do you know who Vanessa Van Edwards is?
No.
She's a body language expert, and I've watched a couple podcasts with her lately, but it's really interesting, the stuff that she has to say. She does an analytical breakdown of Shark Tank guests. Are you familiar with Shark Tank?
Yeah.
So she said that she has identified specific traits that strongly correlate with whether or not guests on Shark Tank get their bid. So, for example, one of them is showing your hands when you come into the Shark Tank. If you enter a new setting and you're meeting someone for the first time, subconsciously you look for their hands, because if you don't see their hands, you don't know what they have. You don't know if they're an enemy or a friend. You don't know if they have rocks or spears. You don't know if they're trustworthy or not. So the Shark Tank guests who walked in and said, "Hi, sharks," and they showed their palms and they smiled, I think it was a crazy statistic, like 92% of those people got their bids in. Yeah. And another one is staging your entrance to meeting somebody. So seeing someone from a middle distance walk into a closer distance is better than having someone just pop up close to you. You don't want to be introduced to someone by turning around and suddenly having them in your face, because that's startling. Subconsciously, you want to see a person from across the room and have them saunter over and say hi to you. There are a couple different things like that. But it's interesting because as I'm listening to all these different podcasts that she has and these breakdowns, it's body language is very important in interactions with people, because I am not aware of how I'm presenting myself to other people, because I don't consciously think about how I look to other people. Generally, I don't care how other people view me. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
But I only don't care how other people perceive me if they're perceiving me as I think I'm portraying myself. But I find that frequently I portray myself not how I am assuming that I am. And that's leading to people having a misjudgment of me. So I need to make sure that I'm portraying myself exactly how I want to be portrayed, so that the people who hate me can do it validly and the people who like me actually do. So these are some really interesting things that I think I've been listening to them with Grace. We listened on our drive back from Miami. And so many of these, I think, can take us so far in sales, because in sales, your perception and your first interaction is everything. So if you're interested, I'll send you a couple of those.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Something that I've noticed is I've had a harder few months, and I really try every day to like put a smile on my face and like be a good person to the people around me, even if I don't really feel like it sometimes. And there have been days where I've gone home and been like, man, like I really wasn't as like approachable as I wanted to be today. And I was like, what can I do tomorrow to make myself a little bit more approachable and make myself a little bit more, you know, presentable to the people around me and kind of more warm, more welcoming and stuff. And so I've tried to, you know, analyze myself to figure that out, you know, because I have a resting bitch face when I'm working and shit like that. And sometimes I think that I look more like an asshole than, you know, I feel like I am inside.
Absolutely.
And so I'd definitely be interested in some tips for sure.
It's funny you mentioned warmth, because her whole scheme, her whole spiel is charisma sells. Everything is charisma. How charismatic can you be? And charisma is built of two traits, which is warmth and competence. If you're high in competence, you're like Steve Jobs. You know what you're doing. You get the facts. You don't care how you're perceived. You don't like other people. If you're high in warmth, you're like, I can't think of somebody. You're very friendly, but you're a doormat. You can get stepped on. Right? Yeah. Because people don't really have faith in you or what you say. There's not a lot of validity. You're just a nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice guys finish last.
It's funny you bring that up, because that's exactly the combo that I try to hit. You know, I try to hit a combination between being warm and welcoming to the people around me, but also subconsciously letting them know that I'm well informed and well educated about the topic we're talking about. And if I'm not well informed and well educated, then I make that known. Yeah. And that to me displays a sign of competence and confidence in the topics I understand. And it displays confidence in the sense too that I'm not going to talk about a subject that I don't understand. Right. So that's very similar to what I try to hit. And I, you know, recently I haven't hit the marks that I want to hit with that every day. But I try to take little steps towards that and be a better person each day.
Here's what we'll do. I'm going to send you the podcast that I listen to.
Yeah.
And then while you listen, like pick your favorite points and compare it to how you had been working it, or even better, before I send it to you, write down the things that you're intentionally trying to work on, what your goals are and how you're trying to achieve them. Then I'll send you this podcast and you can say, hey, I was on the right track here. I was on the wrong track here. Here are some cool things that she said, because I think you'll love it. Grace sent it to me like 8 months ago and I didn't listen to it until like the past month, but it's fantastic. I really love it.
Awesome.
And I think it'll help you reach those goals. I have the same goals. And I've been working on them more lately because it's difficult. At the bar, I want to sit and get my work done. I don't want to be fucking bothered.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't dislike the people that are around me. I want to be open to conversation if you want to have a conversation with me, but I just want it to be a short one because I am working, right? I want to be polite, but not easily interrupted. And it's a difficult balance.
It is.
Yeah. Similarly, when you're trying to sell somebody, you don't want to come off as a know-it-all and you don't care about them, and you don't want to come off as someone who cares about them but doesn't know anything. So striking a balance is really interesting. My final closing point, I had a lot this week, is our potential business trip, which is the first ever Vision 79 business trip.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I had this epiphany earlier in the week that has been fucking eating at me. Hormozy says, if you solve rich people problems, then you'll become one of them because they will pay more money than regular people, which makes sense. If I sell you a pencil, then you'll pay me $10, which isn't much money to you. If I sell a rich guy a pencil, he'll pay me $10,000, which is not a lot of money to him, but it's a lot of money to me, and I want to become one of them, right? And if you're solving rich people problems, then you're making more rich people connections, and then you're surrounding yourself with people more successful than yourself, and then ultimately you're due to follow, right? My problem is, with every product game that we do, I think of a problem that I have, and then I solve it. Awesome. Thumbs up. You're solving problems. That's how businesses are made. But I'm solving problems that I have, and I'm not a rich person. So how the hell am I supposed to solve rich people problems if I don't know what problems rich people have? And interestingly, you'll see on TikTok a lot, a dude will walk up to some guy in a Ferrari and go, hey, guy, they're like, yeah. And they're like, you know, how much money have you made in a year? And they're like, my best year was 30 million. And they're like, wow, do you have tips for becoming successful? And they're like, yeah, take a cold shower in the morning and, you know, make sure to jerk off 3 times a day. And they give you their whole morning routine, right? And like how Hormozy says, you work hard to become successful, where you can then fill your time doing your morning routine. And then you forget that it was just the hard work that got you there, and you tell people it was your morning routine, right? But all of these people ask, what are the tips to get me to be as successful as you? Or what did you do to become successful? And if they're telling you what they did to become successful, they're telling you about a problem that they've already solved. Not useful. If you're asking about tips, they're going to give you their morning routine. Not useful. Nobody asks rich people what problems they have. Because I think that if we went up to someone on the street and said, hey man, I've got a question for you. Will you answer it for me? I want to do an interview. They're expecting you to ask, how much money do you make and what did you do to get successful? But I want to know, what's the biggest pain in your ass today? Yep. And when we approach it from, what's the biggest pain in your ass today? I want to solve it for you, right? Take my number or let me take yours and I will contact you when I fix this problem. They're actually more likely to give us that because they're seeing in us what they don't see in all these other kids our age, which is, oh, they're actually solution oriented. They're looking to do something new. They're not looking to get rich quick, and they're not looking to hang on the coattails of someone else. They're looking to forge their own path, and they're going to solve one of my problems. That's awesome. So we're planning potentially a dual purpose trip to the Revs Institute in Naples, where there's wealthy people and cool cars. So we could take a look at the cars and ask these wealthy people. And in lieu of me going on my Miami trip, which spent way more money than I wanted to, I want to try and work out a way in the next week or two to figure out how we can do it on a budget without spending a shitload of money. So like maybe pack a cooler with a bunch of food that we meal prep, maybe like split a hotel room that isn't super expensive or something like that, or find someone that we can stay with out there or something along those lines. Yeah. And find a cost-effective way for us to do it so that we can actually do it without breaking the bank.
Yeah, 100%. We talked about this the other week. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think it would be a lot of fun, and I think we'd get a lot of useful information out of it.
Yeah.
So, completely agree.
Yeah. I'm especially excited for that.
Yeah. Very cool.
That's my closer.
Great great note to end on. Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate your support, and check out the TikTok channel for little different content and little exclusives that we do for you guys there. And have a great rest of your week.